John McTernan, who is a former advisor to Tony Blair and joins us now. John, thank you for your company this evening here on Talk. You're very welcome to the programme. And John, there are a number of things I want to kind of talk to you about, but actually I'm going to start, if that's okay, with a message from Steve, who says, "It is shameful on this vile and odious Labour Party in these times to cancel the winter fuel payments to thousands of pensioners. With costs going up for energy again in October, I predict," Steve says, "that they will have the lives of elderly people on their hands. But they don't care, obviously. I knew once this lot got in, they would revert back to type." That is Steve in Ipswich there, because there's just a lot of people, we're talking about energy prices going up, a lot of people angry about the changes to winter fuel allowances. I wonder what your reaction and thoughts are around that, John.
Well, it was Labour that brought in the winter fuel allowance, but if people recall, we brought it in when the state pension was around £97 a week. It's now £220 or more a week. And it's higher now than it was, because in our time, the pension was linked to prices. Now the pension is linked to prices, earnings, the growth. It's got the triple lock. And so this year's uplift, this year's uprating of the pension is larger in value than the entire winter fuel allowance. And the same will be true of next year's, because Labour's committed to the triple lock too. So at the end of Labour's first term, there'll have been nearly 20 years of the triple lock. And that's why year on year, the upratings with the triple lock have increased the pension to such a high level. It's only fair to focus that money on those pensioners who have the least. And I think that fairness argument is at the heart of what Labour's doing. It is the right thing to target this money, because the pension has thankfully been restored to a decent level.
Means testing costs money too, though, doesn't it? And some would argue that means testing is actually a waste of money when it comes to the winter fuel allowance.
Yeah, look, people do argue against means testing, but to be honest, I don't see why a millionaire or a millionaire's household should receive the winter fuel allowance. Targeting does save money, but the big thing about targeting is it gives the most help to those most in need. And I think we never have enough in the Social Security budget to pay everybody the same thing, that we should target it. So means testing is pretty efficient in the modern age with kind of machine learning and computerization. The big issue, I think, in my mind is how can we use AI and use government data to find the 900,000 pensioners who currently don't claim pension credit. And pension credit is generous too, and that plus the winter fuel allowance is really good target.
And I'm sure we would all encourage people who aren't claiming pension credit, who can get it, to claim it, because that way you're going to get more money and you're going to be targeted for those things like the winter fuel allowance. I want to talk a little bit, John, about decisions Labour has made in the last 6 weeks. And of course, there are many problems that are not. There's no way they could solve, for example, the prisons crisis in 6 weeks. I think that would be absurd to say that they could have built a load of prisons. Although we do have people suggesting that perhaps there could be some sort of Nightingale prisons, there could be some sort of solution found. But I want to...
I'd empty the Bibby Stockholm and put the prisoners on there, to be honest.
Okay, fair enough. That's one solution. YouGov polling, I'm always wary of polls, but nonetheless I will talk about this one. Labour is apparently paying a political price for the deals that they have done in regard to public sector pay deals. They've done deals with public sector employees, train drivers, junior doctors and so on. Only a third of voters saying the party has handled the problem well. When it comes to the budget on the 30th of October, we're all going to have to pay for this, aren't we?
Well, look, I doubt that 2/3 of voters wanted the rail strikes to go on. I doubt that 2/3 of voters wanted the junior doctors dispute to go on. And I doubt that 2/3 of voters want there to be recruitment problems and shortages in teaching staff, in nursing staff, in medical staff, right through the NHS. So, we've had a backdrop of industrial disputes.
But it's not a binary thing with respect, John, is it? Because with the train drivers, for example, who got 15%, there were very few conditions put on that. No changes in working practices, for example. Did Labour perhaps move too quickly and try to just get it off the books and get it done as quickly as possible without actually bargaining hard enough?
It was 15 different train companies, 15 different deals. It wasn't actually one deal. And the deal in the end was the train operating companies doing a deal with the unions. The railways are thankfully still privatised. And it's a private sector company dealing with a union. What was being done by the Transport Secretary Lou Haig was she removed all the obstacles that the previous Tory Transport Secretary put in the way of the private sector companies coming to a deal. So, and I think people who use the trains regularly don't want that disruption now. There's a dispute between ASLEF and the government because LNER is a government-owned train company, and I think that's where we'll see the mettle of the government facing up to and facing down a union who are just having a laugh. You can't have that. You can't have unions getting a settlement and then going a day later, oh, by the way, let's all go strike.
That was a big embarrassment. I mean, Darren Jones, the Chief Secretary of the Treasury, had quite a lot of egg in his face, didn't he, by saying we've done a deal. A couple of days later, look, it's a different thing. It involves LNER. It's different. I understand that. I get that. But it doesn't look good, does it?
Well, look, it depends. What I would do if I was in there, I'd close down LNER. I'd lock out the workers.
Wow.
I mean, you've got to fight fire with fire, haven't you? If somebody's
so you're arguing Labour should be more radical.
Look, I think if Labour, in this case the employer, Labour should do what employers should do, which is if they think it's an unrealistic demand, it's an unfair demand, they should use as much strength as they can. To be honest, you can't pussyfoot around industrial disputes. When you're the employer, you either have a pay review body, as we do with teachers, as we do with doctors, or you have to go, right, here's the deal. You're taking action against us, or we'll take action against you. So I think, in a sense, ASLEF have to see that the government are serious. Otherwise, it does start to look as though the government are just weak.
What about the Fire Brigades Union? Because they've put forward a motion expected to pass demanding the repeal of all anti-union laws and positive legal rights for trade unions. They're going to put that forward at the TEC conference.
It's really sweet. It's like summer comes around every year, doesn't it? The TEC conference. I think every year it comes around and you get a demand for something unrealistic. The notion that any Labour government would ever legislate to allow there to be car park votes by a show of hands or strike action is nonsense. And they can carry on making the demands to go back. I've argued against Matt Rack a programme on the radio when I was at Labour conference last year. Some of the reforms that Margaret Thatcher made to trade union legislation have been for the benefit of the Labour movement, have been for the benefit of the party, and we can't go back to not having secret ballots for strike, not having secret ballots for leadership.
Labour membership sinking to its lowest level in 10 years under Keir Starmer. Do you care?
Yeah, I do, actually. I think it's sad if the Labour Party doesn't have a buoyant membership, because a buoyant membership is a growing membership, and a growing membership means more people, younger people coming in, and the future generations of MPs, councillors, indeed Prime Ministers and Secretary of State have to come from a growing party. So I'm sad that people feel that, but I was sad in the election when we lost votes. We lost some votes to the Green Party, we lost some votes to independents protesting about Gaza. We lost some votes, I'm sure, to reform. I think part of what a big party has to do is to be, we say we're a broad church. You can't be a broad church if you're shrinking to be a kind of a narrow chapel. So okay. I hope that the record of the Labour government delivering brings people back into the Labour Party. So I would never celebrate a fall in membership.
Sure. I want to ask you one more thing before you go. This is Jeremy Clarkson speaking to our colleagues over at Times Radio. Let's have a listen to what he was saying.
I don't think any of them have set foot outside Kentish Town for the last 35 years. No, they're a hopeless bunch.
So would you invite Keir to your pub, Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister?
No, he's banned. He's the first person to be banned. He's actually on a board in the hall. He's banned.
Why? What have you got against him?
Hello? I thought you were running a news operation.
Okay.
He hasn't done much to endear himself to me yet. But we'll have a look at farming.
John, do you think Keir Starmer will be crying into his pint this evening, thinking, if only I could have it in Jeremy Clarkson's pub? Oh,
look, the thing about Keir is he likes a pint. He likes talking about football. He's in his natural environment sometimes when he's in an Arsenal pub having a beer and talking about football, talking about his team. And I think there's many things that he and Jeremy Clarkson could agree on, not least that Brexit was a stupid idea. So I think if I was advising Keir, I'd say, well, let's try and set up a visit, set up a pint, and let's have a chinwag with Jeremy Clarkson. He's a great communicator. We can all learn from great communicators.
Would that not be very high risk as a comms strategy?
Look, I'm in favour of taking calculated risks. And when somebody is saying, when somebody's being rude about you, like a public figure like Jeremy Clarkson, you have to see the whole of character. He was definitely trying to generate a newsline for Times Radio.
Yeah.
He's done that. And it would generate another newsline from if he opened his door to Keir and then announced Keir was unbanned because Keir's good company. And I think Prime Minister has to look as though they're actually in touch with all the country, not just the bits that they want to be in touch with. And look, and Keir's been all around the country since he became Prime Minister. He went to all four nations. So it's wrong to say he's not stepped a foot outside Kentish Town for decades. He's actually, he's been to Normandy for the big.
Yeah, no, he's been to America. He's certainly
America. So look,
done all sorts of things.
I think it's a bit unfair, but listen. Nobody should get up themselves when they're Prime Minister. You should never get pompous about these things. Jeremy Clarkson's having a laugh, and if Keir can find a way to have a quiet beer with Clarkson, I think that would be to the good for both of them.
Maybe lean into it. John, thank you. John McTernan there, former advisor to Tony Blair.